Hey guys. All right, so as promised in my blog post from a couple days ago, I'm going to give a quick oral briefing on the intelligence estimate I wrote about the Bay Area real estate market during the COVID-19 shelter-in-place protocol. My computer's over here on my left, and I'm going to be looking over and referencing it and just talking about it a little bit, just so there's another point of view rather than just my written word. Okay, so we'll kick it off with the title, Bay Area Homes Likely to Retain Value During Shelter in Place. Okay, that's my overall estimate. Let me get into my abstract here, which actually contains two estimates, but they're pretty closely tied together. Okay, so despite difficulties in business operations and small, meaning 5 to 10% reductions in price on certain homes, most homes in the Bay Area are unlikely to lose significant value, defined as 20% or more, during the shelter-in-place regulations that have currently crippled the U.S. economy. This is due to federal government action in the residential real estate industry, pandemic's historical effect on the housing market, and the fact that states are planning on reopening for business in the near future. However, it is likely that total volume of business will decrease while we are on shelter in place due to increased difficulty in business operations. Okay, so I said this before, but when I say likely and unlikely, that means I'm about 70% sure. It means that that's what I'm betting on. That's what I'm advising my clients on, and that's kind of what I see happening. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. Hopefully I'm not. I've really researched this well. I'm following this day to day, and I take a lot of pride in my research and my thought process to try to arrive at and make really accurate and solid estimates. I don't really like to sit on the fence. I went to school in order to help figure out what's going to go on in the future and think critically about things. So let's dive into it. Let's dive into the summary part of this, the discussion part of this, and talk a little bit about why I think that. So the first reason is federal government information. So the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, or the CARES Act, put two major federal protections in place for homeowners with federally backed mortgages. The first is a foreclosure moratorium, and the second is forbearance on federally insured mortgages, which means, quite simply, that the federal government will not foreclose on anyone with federally backed mortgages. Additionally, several states, including California, New York, New Jersey, and a bunch of others off the top of my head, have made it very clear that they will not let people in those states who do not have federally backed mortgages, like jumbo loan people, to fail. So what that means is if you live in the Bay Area and you can't pay your mortgage, if it's a federally backed mortgage, the federal government has issued protection against foreclosure, and also the local state government has issued a lot of statements saying that they will not allow foreclosures to happen due to COVID-19 in California as well. Talking about the nature of pandemic's effect on housing markets throughout time, typically real estate markets have not been affected very much by pandemics. Real estate and homes have typically held their value really well through pandemics, and typically the economy recovers pretty quickly after this one. Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and a couple of other major financial institutions are kind of looking for a somewhat rapid response, or they're anticipating a somewhat rapid response after all this is over. But the housing market doesn't essentially mirror the economy. The economy could go up, the housing market, especially in the Bay Area, could stay the same. Yes, so I have a little graph on the left here that's in the article. With the exception of two recessions, the Great Recession from 2007 to 2009, and the Gulf War recession from 90 to 91. No other recessions have negatively impacted the U.S. housing market. And in the Gulf War recession from 90 to 91, housing values only dropped 0.23%, so less than 1% during that time. They dropped 15% between 2007 and 2009. With all these major, news articles you're reading about so-and-so says this about the economy's not going to recover and it's going to be a rough road. A lot of those articles are also tagged with caveats that say it's dependent on how quickly we recover from how quickly we go back to business. With that being said, many states have rolled out plans to acknowledge that we're going to be reopening for business soon. So in California, Governor Gavin Newsom held a press conference saying that they're road mapping a return to a somewhat normal kind of life. So not back to normal life, but not shelter in place, which is going to allow a lot of folks to go back to work. So that's going to be really exciting. What that indicates is that this is going to be really good for the economy. Like I said, the economy isn't essentially tied to the real estate market, but it's never bad for the real estate market if the economy can recover quickly. MLS data for the 1 month that we've been on shelter in place. Yesterday, the 16th, marks the 1 month anniversary of us being on shelter in place. The numbers during this time are actually pretty impressive. So the average listing price was right about 1.4 million. The average sale price, so this is from March 16th to April 16th. Average listing price of 1.4 million, average sale price of 1.54 million. So still well above listing price. And the total of number of homes sold or pended was 529, which is about 100. It's about 130 to 150 less than there usually is during this time of the year. However, here's where it gets interesting. The average sale price is only $7,000 less. I think I realized I might have made a typo in my blog, so we'll check that out. The average sale price hasn't actually slid much. Although inventory is low and there's not as many transactions taking place, the average sale price is still high, which indicates that prices just aren't going down, and a lot of homeowners don't really feel fear about losing their homes. This is indicated by a study conducted by the National Association of Realtors that said 63% of buyers are expecting lower prices. Makes sense, it's a pandemic. However, 72% of sellers have not lowered prices. This also mirrors what I'm seeing in terms of the listings I'm looking at, the places I'm going to see for my clients, and the transactions that I'm seeing closing on the MLS as well. So with that being said, what I'm expecting is lower volume, but because people don't have to leave their houses, and really there's nothing wrong with the mortgage contracts themselves like there was in 2008. What I'm anticipating is that values are going to stay high, but the overall transaction volume is just going to be a little bit lower during this time. However, it's going to be even easier to do business now once we're on a kind of a modified shelter in place, with social distancing. So basically, my entire estimate on this is that no, the Bay Area is going to be fine. Transaction volume might be a little low, but homes are going to continue to retain their value through this thing. All right. If you have any questions or comments, or if there's anything else you'd like to see me make an estimate on, please let me know. Thanks.